So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Hello there, Outposters, and welcome to a little impromptu movie discussion between myself and Shawn. So you know this isn't going to be a movie about people's heads getting cut off or rapes or the usual that you talk about. There will be no Serbians in the movie. I don't think there are.
Maybe somebody in the cast has Serbian descent in
Maybe.
them, but I don't think it matters in regards to the story in this case. So.
I don't think so either. So you did a retro review on Network from 1976. It stars Faye Dunaway, William Holden, and Robert Duvall, and Peter Finch.
Yeah, and what's his name there? I forget his name. Dude from Squeal Like a Poor Squeal Like a Pig.
Ned Beatty. Yeah.
Ned Beatty, yeah.
And Ned Beatty. And Lane Smith is in there for 5 seconds. Who, those of you not sure, he's one of those guys, but he was Perry White in the New Adventures of Lois and Clark back in the 90s. He played the bad coach in the Mighty Ducks. He was the prosecuting attorney in My Cousin Vinny.
That's impressive that you remember this guy's catalog.
I don't know. I have a thing for him, but he's in this movie for like a minute or two. So you did a retro review on it.
I did.
And I had coincidentally, I swear it was a total coincidence, I had just downloaded it like a day before. I mean, put it in my watch list. And I just kind of had a hankering for it. I don't know. And I hadn't seen it probably over a decade. And I was just bowled over by it. I was like, I knew the story, I knew all this, but I think the last Trumpian years, quite frankly, and watching CNN just set itself on fire and watching the state of news today, this movie was like, I mean, I could barely find anything that dated it. Maybe like people smoking cigarettes in a restaurant, things like that. But as far as how they handled the news and what they were going for and everything, other than being a network versus a cable network that's 24/7, I couldn't find anything that would be different than what is actually happening today.
Yeah.
So, do you think this is possibly the most cynical movie ever made?
Yeah, I do. Except for that one that was...
There's not a decent person in the thing.
No, well, I mean, Beals is probably an okay guy before he went insane, and Holden his character is
Beals is the only guy that actually sees the truth about everything, and that's why. So, all right, let me go through a little bit, for this almost 50-year-old movie. Spoilers. So it starts out with Howard Beals is on a fictional network called UBS alongside of ABC, NBC, and CBS, right? Yeah.
He's just an anchorman, more or less.
Yeah, he's Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, he's getting old. He's not whatever. Something about him is causing ratings to drop. They think, anyway. The network brass thinks that he's to blame for failing ratings. So they want to get rid of him. They tell his buddy William Holden, who is like in charge of the news division, and he takes him out. They go out drinking, and he gives him the bad news because he doesn't want him to be sandbagged. And they get a little drunk and reminisce, and then the next day, Beals goes on the air and says he's going to kill himself on the air next Tuesday because they're firing him.
Now at this point, Faye Dunaway's character starts kind of on the scene. Now she is a program director for more entertainment stuff.
Yeah,
and UBS was a kind of an old-fashioned company that's gotten bought by a giant corporation.
in the process of being bought anyway.
Well,
right?
it's owned by CCH.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Okay,
Later on in the movie, then another big
CCH is going to get bought by Saudi.
Okay.
I mean, I'm listening to this going, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
the shit that's happening now. These
It's real. Yeah,
hedge
it's
fund
so,
companies that are,
Yeah.
you know, and all this kind of stuff that's happening. We've seen Warner get tossed, and all its subsidiaries, including
AT&T,
CNN,
Yeah.
get moved from AT&T to Discovery and all this kind of stuff. And then we know that there's bigger, investment firms and hedge fund companies that own these things. These investment, I forget what they call these types of companies. They have all these holdings, right? Like Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah. Evil is what.
Evil, yes. just say evil, Mark.
Evil. Yeah.
Say evil. So she is a
Ruthless money and ratings.
she is absolutely soulless.
Yeah.
She has no.
She's like the Patrick Bateman of 1970s TV.
Yeah. She says in there, I don't know how to screw. I have a bad lay. I don't know how to cook. I don't have a motherly instinct. Basically, she's admitting that she is not an actual human.
Yeah.
The only thing she knows how to do is to manipulate the masses, and she could care less about how it affects the masses.
She reminds me of Nicolas Cage's character in Lord of War, where his wife was like, "You got to stop," and he's like, "I can't." She says, "Why?" It's like, because I'm good at it.
Yeah, it's the only thing she knows how to do.
Yeah, it's the only thing she knows how to do, and it's the only thing she's good at. So she can't. That's her whole existence is defined by that job, basically.
So she does this. She sees how Howard Beale, make this crazy thing on the air.
Well, yeah, let's back up a minute. So he says he's going to kill himself.
Yeah, he's going to kill himself.
And then they're all like, "Oh, he's fired. He's fired." And so William Holden says, "No, give him a chance to apologize and go out with dignity." And when he comes on the air next, he'll do that. So that's what they think is going to happen. But instead, Bill goes on this epic red pilling rant, basically, that really speaks to a lot of
He doesn't say the famous line in the first.
No,
rant.
not yet. Right.
He just starts talking about how it's all owned by. I forget what he says in the first rant. I mean, the rants are absolutely spot on.
Yeah, it's so.
But but it's like, if you're the only sane man in a world of lunatics, are you the one that's insane?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like. Like, he's the only sane man, so naturally everybody thinks he's a lunatic. And so they. Oh, he started saying shit. That's what he started doing.
Yeah.
He started saying shit. He says, "I just got tired of the bullshit." That's what it was.
Yeah, and so they want to cut him off, but Holden, of course, at this point is mad at him too, and he's no.
Just, like, if this way he wants to go out, let him go out this way.
Let it run.
So they're gonna fire him. The president of UBS, who is basically the old man of the company who owned it initially, and I think he sold to CCH, but he has enough clout, and maybe it was in his contract or whatever, still runs it. But he's losing power to Robert Duvall, who is a cutthroat executive for CCH.
The kind of guy that would, he's basically the what's his name's character in what's the Oliver Stone movie with Wall Street? He's Michael Douglas's character in Wall Street in the below. You come in.
Duvall is,
yeah, right. Duvall's that kind of corporate, just get in it and then milk it, strip it.
The president's a little bit like Martin Sheen's character, still wants to build airplanes. He still wants to put on a decent, with dignity. But dignity ain't selling anymore.
Right.
And they make a mention of a lot of the shows that were going on at the time, If you think of the massive change, tone, and content of TV shows, we went from things like Beverly Hillbillies and the Andy Griffith Show and things like that to Archie Bunker. And I mean, you want to talk about a snap.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody began doing Archie Bunker. They started getting rid of all these more family friendly shows. Now, that's not to say there wasn't a lot of. I mean, we had Wonder Woman. You had $6 Million Man. There was a spate of superhero shows, but there was a lot more cynical shows that were coming on, and a lot more. The beginnings of reality TV were happening, because I remember things like Real People and That's Incredible and things like that were, the really cheap shows to show just, weirdos doing weird things. Gong Show, right? So he's fired, Beale's fired, and Holden is fired. And then that's when Dunaway swoops in with Duvall and says, I want to put Beale on the air.
Because the rating, because during the rant, everybody in the entire country basically tuned in.
Because they wanted to see him blow his head off. The audiences are just as bad, because they want to be spoon-fed anger. And she's spot on with that, because if you look at Twitter, if you look at the way we treat each other now, that's exactly what we want. We want to be spoon-fed anger. We want to be outraged. It's outrage is a drug.
Yeah.
Correct?
More or less, yes.
So Beale gets his own show, and they start bringing. It's more of a I don't say a variety show, but it's not like him sitting behind a desk anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of
you don't really get him. Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot. I can't believe I forgot this part. So they put him behind the desk, and he has a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, full on sweaty and
and he's running around in the rain in his pajamas and a robe.
Yeah.
And then and they're like, we were going to put him on the air, and he doesn't even show up. They don't even know where the hell he is. And then finally he comes wandering into the studio, sits down, and that's when he does this epic rant. You got to get mad. You got to say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And and the whole city starts putting their head out the window and doing this like lemmings.
Yeah.
And so, so then he gets this show, and they bring on a psychic, and they bring on all this. Now, Holden is kind of taken with Faye Dunaway, who...
God knows why.
She looks okay in the movie, and she has for some reason, she does not wear a bra at all, for whatever reason.
It was the early 70s.
It was the early 70s. So, I think it's the newness of it. It's the breaking of boundaries. There's a danger to it all.
And there's a little, and you get there might be a little hint of keep my job or get my job back, because she's raising in power,
Maybe.
Hey,
he can't get her out of his mind, and he's so matter-of-factly just breaks up with his wife. I mean, it's like cruelness.
Yeah, it's really mean. It's hard to watch scene, I think.
It is. It's awful. And she's like, Jesus, do I get any simple loyalty or anything from you? And then he's like, this is what it is. I think I'm in love with her. Well, of course, that relationship doesn't end up working out.
Yeah, because William Holden's character is William Holden's 1975 age.
Yeah.
Faye Dunaway is, what,
at least 20 years younger.
Yeah.
And they're not...
Their personalities.
He can't stop being. He can't just go completely evil.
Yeah, he's not a complete shitheel.
No, he's close.
Very close, yeah.
But he can't quite do it, and he comes to his senses, and he leaves her.
Yeah. After he tells her a pretty good rant in his own way, he's like he basically tells her what a heartless piece of shit she is and how it's going to ruin her, and he's right.
He's right.
Yeah, I mean, he's right.
Now, one of the funniest things I thought in this was there's this communist
the
group,
Communist Manifesto Hour or something that gets its own.
And they work, and there's a splinter group from them that is much more radicalized.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sure they are. This was like, this just was like, absolutely, I believe every single one of these political groups are this cynical and this full of crap, you know?
Yeah.
Because at first, when Faye Dunaway approaches the girl, now the radical
The
group,
liaison, yeah.
they're living in some weird abandoned farmhouse or something. So she doesn't have access to them, but she has access to the communist lady. She's a black radical, so she's kind of like Black Panther, commie.
Yeah, a little bit of an amalgamation of
A
a
little
lot
bit
of
of
60s
amalgamation
and
of that.
70s radical leftists, yeah.
So, and she doesn't give it two shits about their message or what kind of damage they could be doing or anything like that. All she wants is, I would get you on TV, give you your own show, and you're going to be following Howard Beale. And so, you know, at first she's like all about the message and all that kind of stuff, but really you find out that these two groups have nothing about the message, and that culminates in them having this really pedantic meeting in this abandoned farmhouse where they're trying to go through Section A of this contract and Section 5 of this contract, and she throws a shit fit about residuals, I think.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and finally, the guy just takes out a gun, just blasts in the air to shut everybody up and says, give her goddamn residuals. Now, moving on to Section 3.
And this is all played 100% straight face.
It is.
This is not like the naked gun. None of the stuff that we're talking about, even though we're laughing about it, and it is a very dark comedy, it is played dead serious. There's no, like, over the top or nothing.
It's not over. It's not, well, it is over. Well, I would have said 20 years ago this is over the top. I don't believe it's over the top anymore.
No, it is.
That's the sick part. I think that these groups that get on TV, that these talking heads that get on CNN, or even on the right side with Fox News, I think they're all just full of shit like that. I think they're all just manipulators, and they're looking to either get a buck or get some, and whatever they may have started with a message, but now they just use the message to enrich themselves. And that's what was clearly shown in this movie.
Yeah.
And
so
that
accurate.
was amazing.
You could make that movie right now, and all you'd have to do is change a few names and like whatever the current nomenclature is used in studios, and you would not know that this was a movie wrote for 1975.
You could easily shoehorn in, you know, Twitter and Instagram and 24-hour news. It really isn't. Nothing that was in there was anything that wouldn't happen now. You just need to add a few of these new technologies in there, and maybe the speed of it all. But I mean, the you know, people are just getting riled up. They're listening to all this stuff, and Beale goes on finally on one of his shows, and he talks about how CCH is getting bought up, as we talked about earlier, by another.
A bigger Saudi, like
it's
Saudi
run by
Arabian.
the Saudis, right? And he's like, you gotta stop this. You gotta write into your congressman. He's right. I mean, he's complete. He's the only one in this that's actually right about anything. And the reason why he has all these epiphanies is when he has his nervous breakdown. He thinks he's talking to God. Well, he's talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And the God, and whatever the voice is, actually admits it's like, no, I'm not God, but you need to do the message because you're on TV, dummy.
Yeah.
So then he does all this and he busts up the deal because everybody, you know,
that's when
ties it up in
he's
SEC and all that, right?
So he meets with the head of the major,
played by Ned Beatty.
Ned Beatty, who gives him this
epic speech.
About how the primal forces of the universe and everything, basically everything.
He's saying that everything is run by corporations.
Yeah.
And that money and currency and the ebb and flow of money between corporations, the people, countries, different countries, there's no borders anymore. It's all this globalization. It's like, oh, because he's like, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a problem, but they weren't, you know, and he ends up talking to Beale and saying the same things that the voice said to him earlier.
Yeah.
He says, I want you to tell everybody all this stuff about the corporations and everything, and that you are powerless. Telling the people that they're powerless. And he says, why me? He says, because you're on TV, dummy. It's the exact same thing. I was like, oh, geez. So then he goes on TV and he tells everybody that their lives are shit and meaningless.
Yeah.
Which,
they don't take it too well.
And they're controlled by multinational conglomerates, which is unfortunately that is
true.
It's true.
Yep.
And so but people, that was the most cynical, disappointing thing about the whole movie, is that the people were being told the very thing they needed to hear, and they rejected it.
They got black pilled.
They got black pilled. Well, they red pilled and black pilled, but it is true. All of it was true. And
of course, the black pill is true. That's why it's the black pill. It's the ultimate realization,
And they didn't want to hear it, and they rejected the message in the form of his ratings went down.
Yeah. So then the problem was...
Then you have the comedy radicals who follow the show.
Let me tell you. This is the best part. So the solution to get rid of Beals isn't to just fire him. Faye Dunaway's character has one of the commies come into the live studio audience, stand up, and assassinate Beals. Yeah, 2 of them. They just blow him away live on air.
Live on air, and he dies. And then they just cut, and they don't even end music. They just kind of fade. Like, they start the movie with 4 screens representing the 4 networks that pretty much blanket the entire. Nowadays, it'd be the internet and YouTube and some other things. The symbolism is clear. And when it fades out, he's just another screen of something happening that is disconnected from reality, alongside a commercial for Mop and Glow and another talking head talking about how Howard Beale got murdered on set today. It's so cynical. And the reason why he ended up getting murdered is because Jensen, Ned Beatty's character, wouldn't take him off the air.
Yeah, because he was preaching Ned Beatty's personal philosophy. That he thought,
because you get these... Because he was being a Bill Gates.
Yeah.
In his own way. And he was destroying the corporation with his wacky ideas, just like Bill Gates destroying the world with his building up farms.
Or more like Twitter, something that started out kind of neat, but then their progressive ideology, they're going to run it to the ground. They don't care as long as they get their leftist
get their ideology out there, whatever it is. It's just about power.
It doesn't matter about shareholders' money even at that point. It's just a message.
He won't get taken off the air, and the commies shows are suffering in the ratings, which they're very upset about.
Yeah.
Not about the worker. They're very upset about their ratings.
Yeah.
And so I know what you said, that Faye Dunaway, but it was the meeting that they had just in their office, just calmly talking about ratings, numbers, accountants. Why don't we murder him? Yeah, it's probably a good idea. We'll go ahead and take care of that. Remember, this can't get back to us. No, don't worry about it. It was also dry and dull. It was played as non-dramatically as possible, which made it worse.
Yeah. And Robert Duvall
it makes it hit you harder because they're so indifferent to it.
Yeah, they just don't care. And Robert Duvall's great in it too, isn't he?
The only thing they care about is ratings and their money.
Yeah.
And I'm the reason why it hit me so hard is because it was like, I have absolutely zero doubt that this is CNN. Oh, this is Brian Stelter. This is Don Lemon. This is,
name any
MSNBC, most and New York Times, all of them, about manipulating people and sucking money out of the system, and a complete psychopathic disdain for their fellow man. And that was what the movie was about. And that movie, you haven't seen Network, 1976. I honestly believe it's absolutely 100%.
It's 5-star, masterpiece. It's so, evergreen, even now.
Sadly,
it's so eerie.
It's more evergreen now, because there used to be. They would not have put Howard Beale on the air in 19.
No, but they would now. I mean,
they do now.
Right. I mean,
Chris Cuomo was Howard Beale.
Well,
except he had no soul and he wasn't telling the truth. But he would do crazy stunts on the air. I think Jerry Springer. I mean,
they would put a Howard Beale's on the air now if he if it was the message, right? Like Alex Jones, of course. Now, we can obviously Alex doesn't always say, real.
Or the friggin' frogs game.
Yeah, but like he's closer to the truth a lot of times. But look
more
what they
so
did
than
to
people
him.
give him credit for.
Yeah, and they would. I mean, look what they did to him. But if he was on there, what's his name, Cenk Uygur, they would put Cenk Uygur on live.
Cenk Uygur is absolutely one of those type of guys. I think the only difference is that they were completely indifferent to the message.
Yeah.
They don't care. They would have put on conservative rant if it would have got them ratings.
That's
where
true.
We have true believers that have to be on one side. Jensen was that guy.
Yeah.
Then Beatty's character was that guy who was a true believer that wanted his message out. So he was that bellwether for that. But the rest of them were just indifferent psychopaths.
They would put somebody like Bill on the air now if it happened just like it did on the movie where it was accidental, and then at first their first reaction would be he's fired, get him that. But then if they saw the ratings, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, let's.
Yeah.
Even though we don't agree with it, so yeah, it's still believable because MSNBC would put if somehow Alex
they
Jones
put Rachel Maddow on there.
Well,
She's a lunatic.
But somebody that was preaching the opposite of their beliefs, they would do it if it happened accidentally, and then they saw the ratings, they would be like,
I don't think so.
You don't think if it was
no,
MSNBC?
There is. See, here's the thing that I think that they slightly touched on this movie that I think is something that if I were to remake it, I would highlight more, is the incestuous relationship between the media and those in power. See, like, he got everybody to send email or send snail mail to the SEC, right? But the SEC wasn't really that involved with the corporation. It was like the corporation still had to kind of bow to deal with it. That now it's a completely incestuous.
Yeah,
and so when you bring the politics in, when senators who write your paychecks are involved in it, senators have to take a side because that's how politics works.
Yeah.
So you have to put out some bizarre message, because it's not the other guy's message, right? Because what is politics? It's the fight. It's not like everybody. We're not running on issues anymore. We're running on I'm for good thing. He's for bad thing. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the thing is. I'm for good thing. If good thing, if my opponent believes that giving sex change operations to 4-year-olds is bad, all I know is he's for bad thing. So
yeah,
therefore, I am now for chopping off the genitals of 4-year-olds. Because that's good thing, because he's bad thing. That's all they know.
Yeah,
and that's how they manipulate. And the media has chosen their side. They chose the Democrats because they know the Democrats will pay them one way or the other.
Simple as.
So that's why it's much more. That's why they wouldn't put a conservative.
So
on there.
Let me ask you though, if you think
Fox might.
We know they would, but say for instance, some dude come on Rachel Maddow's show and he had a nerve, like he was say he was a hardcore leftist, and that's what they expected. But he has a nervous breakdown right before the show. He gets on and he rants like Alex Jones.
They cut him.
They would, but let's just say accidentally they don't. And they're like, okay, he's never on here again. What the hell? And then so they see ratings that eclipse Tucker Carlson. You don't think they would be like very tempted to say like, let's give this idiot his own show?
I don't.
If it meant, yeah, you're right, because they destroy their self already.
They have had opportunities to fix their ratings, and they have blueprints to do it, and they won't. They are fine with destroying their ratings as long as they control the narrative. And that's the thing, is that it's not about ratings anymore.
No.
If it were about ratings, it would be a problem, because CNN is losing money, MSNBC is losing money. They can't keep going like if it's only about ratings. But if it's about controlling the narrative.
Yeah.
See, because I talked about this with She-Hulk, and I'm gonna reiterate my point for those that you know that. She says in that, she has that, and I'm sure you all have seen the clip, but she says in that, I get catcalled, I have to control my anger because men in these corporations, they talk down to me about my own job and treat me competent. And so that's the narrative. And so our response is, oh, did somebody talk mean to you? You know, did you couldn't handle the talking mean? It's the absolute wrong response. They've got the control because you are responding to an assertion that isn't true. The truth is, no, they don't. Yeah, they do not talk to you that way. Not in a white collar environment these days. That does not happen. Men are too scared to say anything thanks to HR personnel. You are starting from a layer of bullshit and lies that we take the bait and we respond to as if it were true. Mm-hmm. We find it to be a wrong response to somebody saying that. And I'm saying, no. They didn't say that. You're starting from a lie. That doesn't matter. They've already won once we accept the bait. That's my point.
I don't accept the bait because I don't listen to anything any woman says ever. So.
But you get what I'm saying. We're talking about that's how they put it on Twitter.
Responding to it by saying, "Oh, you can't take it, tough girl." Oh, well, that's like saying, "Oh, then it does happen when it doesn't."
Yeah, I mean, it's like they got the other side responding to it as if it were true in kind, and then they get everybody fighting each other on Twitter, and they get everybody, voting for good thing, not bad thing, and then they keep their power and they keep their institutionalized power because we are fighting these petty, stupid arguments that they're just laughing at us.
It's the classic when did you stop beating your wife trick.
A little bit, but it's not even so much that. It's like, okay, we've wound them up. Now let's just let them go, and they'll leave us alone while we burn through more money. Yeah, and we keep more institutional power because we're controlling the narrative. Why do you think you're so scared of losing Twitter?
So let me ask you this, coming back to network. That movie with that message would never get made today. And it amazes me that even then Hollywood churned that out. Because it hits it. The only thing I can figure is they thought like, well, the average viewer is so dumb, they would never believe that this is how it really works anyway. It's like a guy used to work. This guy that used to manage at my old job was a serial cheater. And he was telling a story about how one night in bed his wife said, "Joe, I heard that, is it true? Are you really cheating on me?" And he told us, for some reason I decided to be honest with her. And I said, "I am." And she said, "Why, Joe?" He said, "Because she takes it in the butt and she keeps her mouth shut." And he said, his wife said, "Oh, Joe, you're such a kidder." Rolled over and went to sleep, slept like a baby. And so I wonder if they were like, we can tell them the absolute truth and they will never believe it anyway.
I absolutely believe that there are people who would not want to believe the truth. I mean, and then you get on Twitter and you're finding out how many of them are actually bots manipulating messages and that there are not that many people on there. So if there are not that many people on there, except for blue checkmark famous people who think that Twitter is important, and the message is the point is to control the narrative and to keep people arguing and keep the bread and circuses going, then the only people that you're really trying to appeal to are people with money and power. And you can do that through Twitter and CNN because they're the ones actually watching CNN. And they're the ones that have the purse streets, and they're the only ones that matter. Who gives a crap about ratings from some guy in Kansas City? Yeah. Watching from his little 2-bedroom house. Who gives a crap about him? He doesn't have any money. I don't care how mad he gets. Let him get mad. Let him get on Twitter and argue with somebody, and then somebody will argue back. All of it is good for us. Yeah. And that's what network. To me, that's what it showed me. I mean, not that I didn't know a lot of this stuff, but it's just like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Sometimes you can watch something, it's just like, man. Yep. It's all manipulation. Because I think the most honest thing in there was that none of them really care about. Yeah, that is. I mean, and that is really the point of the movie. That these people that have so much effect on our lives don't care about you. I don't think the people that are on one side of the message really care about the message. But they do the message because they need the politicians, and that's how the game is.
I've said for years. People ask me, it's like, oh, I was like, listen, Nancy Pelosi and her type at that level, Do I think that Nancy Pelosi really believes that we're all going to be dead from global warming in 8 years? No, she does not believe a word of that. She doesn't believe in socialism. She doesn't believe in anything the Democrat Party basically is based on.
She believes in power.
She believes in power, but I think the average a lot of them that are like walking the street, the voters, they believe that shit. It's not important to Nancy to believe it. It's just that they believe it. Those voters, those people.
What's important is that Nancy is on the one side.
Yeah.
Nancy needs to control the narrative and control the powers. She has to pick a side. She picked the side that she believes will allow her the most control, which I gotta say, she's been right.
Yeah.
And so she gets to reap the benefits of that, and we're all the dumb idiot sheep playing along and arguing around the edges.
It really
kicking these people out.
And even the top Republicans, they're the same.
Oh no, I mean Mitch McConnell is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the uniparty.
Lindsey Graham, all of these idiots. Yeah,
it's the uniparty, and they all just agree to pretend that they're against each other when it suits them, and then they work together when it actually benefits all of them.
They are playing the two sides of the same coin, and as I say, it's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yeah. Anyway. That was a cynical movie review, as cynical as the movie itself.
It is. And so, please don't go and kill yourselves. This is not.
Take the clown. Do like me and Yoda and take the clown pill.
Yeah.
Don't let the black pill ruin you. Take the clown pill and sit and enjoy it.
But I do recommend this movie, and I want you to see it for what the larger picture that it paints of how people are manipulated and how people use that to get power for themselves.
And it is an entertaining movie too. Besides, that.
It's well acted, well put together. It's
William Holden is in it, the coolest actor to ever live.
He's good.
So it's a great movie.
His wife is the doctor in Poltergeist.
I did not realize that.
The one that comes in to investigate the house.
I'm
glad she did okay for herself after Holden left.
He gets back with her into the movie. Spoilers.
Well, they didn't. They kind of like he says he's trying to get back with her, and that it's not. Time has passed, and she's probably go to hell. So I'm not sure she
given
did.
The rest
I
of
hope
the
she
tone
didn't, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, given the rest of the black tone of the movie, it's unlikely.
Well, that's our cynical movie.
Hopefully, some people read that review and checked it out, or we'll watch this and give it a try because it's really good. It
is.
I've been trying to.
It's an important movie.
I've been trying to turn people onto some older stuff because content nowadays is just a wasteland.
Yeah.
And looking back on some older stuff like that, and what was the other one I did? The Last Detail, another excellent movie from the time.
Yep.
So.
Great stuff in the 70s, and
not all of it is cannibal rape movies either.
No, and not all of it is Star Wars and Spielberg stuff. There's there's some great stuff in there that had some good things to say. It was last gasp. Everything went sanitized, corporate nonsense. Give it a try. Network 1976. If you like this video, we have plenty more on the website. Reach us at lastmovieoutpost.com. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give us a like. Give us a share. Subscribe. And if you want to reach us with any tidbit of news or information out there in entertainment land, you can email us at contact@lastmovieoutpost.com. Shawn, it's been great. Thanks for having this little impromptu discussion.
Yes, sir.
And join us on Sundays where we have our typical live streams, noon at Sunday at Central Time and 6 p.m. UK time. I think that's about all of it. I'm going to go and drink a lot. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.